So I've got with me Norris from Get Your Tips Out, and today's video is about the Aintree Grand National betting tips for 2024. So let's get this going, Joe. First and foremost, who do you think, forget the odds, is the best chance of a winner to start with?
Well, you've thrown me off a bit there because I was going to start with the odds.
Yeah. Well, let's start with the odds then. If you want, I was just going to say, like, who you think, if there was one that you could choose out on your sweepstake, who would you want? Would you want to go, obviously, Korak Ramblers, quite a short price, or would you want that within a sweepstake?
Obviously, Korak Rambler won it last year, and he's warmed up for it with arguably a career best, finishing third in the Gold Cup. So I think, without a doubt, you've got to say, if you're taking away the odds, Korak Rambler is probably the one you want running for you. But my issue with this is you're either with him or you're against him. You're either confident that he's going to win it, and you're not bothered by the price, or you're trying to find a bit of value. It's the Grand National. He's still got a jump round. Obviously, the negatives are that he's gone up £13 in the weights since last year. But then you could obviously negate that and argue that, well, he's improving still, judging by that last run. I think the case with Korak Rambler, for me, it's not so much he's improving. I think he's a quirky horse, and I just think they've worked out how to ride him now. He's being trained to the minute for this race. Lucinda Russell, obviously clearly knows what she's doing. She knows how to campaign him for this race now. I think he's got a favourites chance, but for me, I'm going to be going against him and just looking for a bit of value in the race.
All right. So who do you think, not outsiders, who do you think at a half decent price for a couple of each way shouts, who do you think's in there with a good chance of winning the race that you're probably going to do, obviously, on an each way type of bet?
So I came down on Vanillier, who actually chased Korak Rambler home last year, finished second, ran on really well in the closing stages, got beat 2.25 lengths at the line. Now, this horse obviously is better off at the weights this year. I think he's got a £9 swing with the favourite. It's had the same prep as last year. It ran in the same race at Fairyhouse, finished second. Last year, it jumped really well. It was always on the pace. It stays the trip. I think, if you take the favourite out, this horse ticks a lot of boxes. But then, if you like Vanillier, you're also going to like Iron Maximus, which is, I know you're quite keen on that horse.
I quite like Iron Maximus, mainly because his last run, he beat Vanillier by 14 lengths. Yeah. And I know you could say that it's a prep run for the Grand National and stuff like that, but he beat it convincingly, and he's actually better off at the weights for it. Now, Don't get me wrong, I thought the last year's run of Vanillier was phenomenal. I think both of them have got great chances. I'm with you. I think Korak Rambler's got a favourites chance, but he's 7-2 in places. I know you can get 5-1 in 1 or 2, but he's generally across the board around 4-1. I think I'd want 4-1 just for a horse to get round and complete the race. Never mind. To then go on and win it. So I think he's too short in the prices to back. If you are backing it, you pretty much got to do him to win the race. So I'm quite keen on Iron Maximus myself, but I do feel Vanillier's got a great chance as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple that I want to mention at bigger prices as well. One of them was Meeting of the Waters. Now, this horse was the horse that was bought by JP McManus before Cheltenham. There was a lot of sort of good words about this horse. I think it was Danny Mullins said that it's a future national horse. Now, I don't know if he thought it would run in it this year, but it does look like they're going to take a chance. It finished third to Chianti Classico in the Ultima. It just looked like it got done for a bit of speed, I thought, because it sort of moved into the race quite well, but then when the leader went again, it just sort of stayed on one pace. So I think that could be quite a big price. That's around 16-1. And then the other one was Mr. Incredible. So I've got unfinished business with this horse because I backed it last year. It was still going quite well, but it ended up unseating at Valentine's. Well, the saddle actually slipped. If you look at him, he's still lightly raced. He looks like he's off a good mark. He finished second to Beauport in the Midlands Grand National last time, which I think that was a big run. I think this one's gone under the radar a little bit at 20-1. But again, it's like you say, they've got to jump round. So he's got to avoid errors, but he could be a good each way bet.
Yeah, for sure. I quite like, as an each way shout, I definitely quite like Mr. Incredible. I think his second last time out was a great run. I'm not overly convinced the meeting of the waters. I feel like he's one for maybe in a year or 2 years' time or something like that. But I'm not.
Yeah.
I think he might be. I don't know this year. I think
Yeah.
he's going to learn a lot from the race, so to speak. I think Limerick Lace, he got heavily backed in, didn't he, at Cheltenham? I think he's got a good each way shout at 25-1 as well. So of bigger prices, is there any who you thinking around 40-1, 50-1, or anything higher than that? Like, is any each way shout like a big price that you quite like?
Well, yeah, I think like anyone, when you go through this race, you have your short list, don't you, of horses that you like, and then you try and whittle it down because you don't want to end up back in half the field. But there is a couple at monster prices. Your first one is Statler. Now, this horse, if you look at his profile, he's still quite lightly raced. He won the 4 miler at Cheltenham a couple of years ago, and that's obviously the furthest the furthest distance he's ran, and that's when he looked his best. So I think this horse has got stamina in abundance. He's a classy type as well. I worry that he might still be a bit too high in the weights, but at 40-1 you could sort of have a chance. And then the other one, which is 100-1 shot, is Chambard for Venetia Williams. Now this horse is I think he's a 12-year-old now, so he's not improving anymore. But he's got course form. He won the Beecher last year at 18-1. He finished 8th in the Ultima at Cheltenham behind. So that form again from the Ultima, that is the race I'm looking at for this. But if you look at his run in that, he was held up and he got hampered by a faller as well early on. And he just sort of kept on and then he faded at the end. But I just think 100-1 for a horse that can jump round this track, stays quite well, he's got a lot of experience. I think that could be a good one to hit the frame,
He's actually one that I've picked out as well with the Venetia Williams, but I'm going to wait a little bit close. I don't know. I might get the 100-1 now and try and do an each way in it, but I'll wait a little bit closer to the race to see what the ground conditions are going to be for it. But also, at the moment on Anti-Post, they're only paying like top 5 places, where sometimes on the day or the day before, they'll look back to like top 6 or even top 7 places. So sometimes I'm like, even if I can get 66-1 closer to the time, but I'm getting top 7, I'd probably sooner have that than a top 5 at the hundreds.
I would agree. But for this horse as well, I would agree. I'd rather take lesser odds and more places for this one, I'd say.
Yeah, you got the each way 8 extra with places like Bet365 that you can do closer to the race. I think that goes up to top 10 places. What you can do now, obviously, the odds come down slightly, but and I don't feel as a 12-year-old there's any improvement, and I don't feel there's much up the sleeve to probably win the race. I feel like an I Am Maximus or Correct Rambler or one of those who are up there in the market, they are class acts that could quite easily beat them. But with regards to an each way shout, then I think he's definitely not 100-1 shot, put it that way. So I think he'll outrun his.
He's actually got a habit of springing up at huge prices. I remember 2 years ago for the Kim Muir, he went off 40-1 at Cheltenham and won. He then won obviously, like I said, he won the Beecher at 18-1. So he's got a habit of sort of coming in when no one fancies him. So he just stood out to me at the price. I thought it was too big a price to leave alone.
So because we've named quite a few, right? You've got 2 free bets. You've got a £250 each way and a £50 each way bet that you can have. 2 horses. Who's your £250 each way bet on, and who's your £50 each way bet on?
I would say I'm going to stick to my guns, and I'll say £250 each way Vanilla at 10-1. I think that's more than fair bet. And then the 50 each way. Do you want me to go big, or do you want? How do you want me to do
mate.
it?
It's your own money. It's your whatever your risk tolerance lies.
I would probably go. I'll stick with Mr. Incredible 20-1 for the 50 each way.
So for mine, because I'm going to try and go against you, like I normally do. Apart from when we both agree, they normally win. To be fair, I'm going to go. I am Maximus for my 250 each way at the 9-1.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go 50 each way on Limerick Lace. They're my 2 selections. So let's see what
Lace, though, she beat Dino Blue, didn't she, at Cheltenham?
Yeah.
But I think you're going to want the rain for her. Do you think?
I definitely want the rain, but I think if I get the rain, I think she's going to come into 16s, 14s, something like that. So
to be fair, I'm just looking at her profile now. She won on good to soft at Doncaster, so maybe not so much.
You want a little bit more. I think she's better on soft than good. If you know what I mean. So I do want a little bit of rain, but saying that, she can go in, like you said, on good to soft, and it will inconvenience others who want it soft and heavy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's one of them. I feel like
she's a really strong traveller from when I've watched her.
Yeah.
I mean, even that she comes second to Cocoa Beach in the Troy Town, and I backed her for that race, and she was held up, and she came cruising through, and I thought she's going to win that, but obviously Cocoa Beach is a good horse. I mean, looking at her form. Her form is actually pretty amazing. She's won 3 of her last 4. So that one defeat came in the Troy Town, which is obviously a really good handicap. She looks like she's improving. So I mean, she could be if we get a lot of rain, 25-1. I think that'll be long gone.
Yeah, for sure. And not only that, is since the running at Cheltenham where it beats Dino Blue, she's actually £6 well in on the ratings. So if there was no to put the weights back out, she would be running off a £6 higher mark. So for punters that like betting a horse that are ahead of the handicapper, then she's got £6 in hand for what she should be carrying because she won at Cheltenham against Dino Blue. She's £6 well, and she's gone up quite a bit. So on that running, you're kind of saying, well, she's got more up her sleeve than many others. Like Korat Rumbler's only meant to have £3 up his sleeve since, even though he came third in, it was a great run in the Cheltenham Gold Cup behind Galopin Deschamps. That's only £3 higher of what they think of what he's running to. So realistically, when you start looking at this and all the horses are handicapped, the handicap is meant to do it that everyone passes the line at the same time in dead heats. So you should never have a 4-1 favourite and 100-1 outsider. Every horse should be 30-1. So if you're looking at it that way,
that's a really good point, and that's why I like to have a few chances in the national. I mean, I don't know about you. I normally back 4, and some years I've backed 5. How many do you sort of go for?
I normally do. I'd say 3 or 4. I normally do like 1 or 2. I normally choose one out that I really like, and if I don't really like one, and I'll go pretty big on that one. If I don't really like it, I might do 2 at a decent rate. Like, to be fair, my decent bet this year is I Am Maximus.
I've got your tactics worked out this year.
What's that?
Back the McManus horses.
Yeah. I've got I Am Maximus, a decent bet, and then my other 2 would be, if I could split it down, my other 2 would be Mr. Incredible and Limerick Lace. I back Mr. Incredible when he comes second last time out. And I think it was a great prep run for the national. Like, I think he's got a great each way chance as well. But it's so open. I mean, your horses can there's more followers at the first than any other fence, and sometimes you can go and have the one that's fallen at the first, and we're like, oh God.
Yeah. I tell you what though, I feel like we've got the winner here between us. Because the other thing you want to look at as well, like I love to get stuck into the trends when it's big handicap like the Grand National. The trends can really come into their own. And Mr. Incredible, out of all the horses we mentioned, he was one of the ones that really fitted a lot of the trends. So one of the main trends for the National is age. So you look at the last 11 run-ins, 8 of the last 11 winners have been aged between 7 and 9. So straight away, that's a negative towards Korat Rambler because he's a 10-year-old this year.
Yeah.
I know that obviously favourites have a bad record in it. There's only been 2 winning favourites in the last 11 years. The other thing you want to look at is the weight they're carrying. So 9 of the last 11 winners was between 10 stone 3 and 11 stone 5. So a stat like that rules out Noble Yates, who obviously won it a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
The trends are really worth looking at. And I mean, for me, what I normally do is find the ones I like, and then I look at the trends. And then if the trends are massively against them, then it might put me off, rather than look at the trends and then try and find one that way.
Yeah, for sure. So with regards to the Grand National betting tips, we basically your main chance of a winner, you're saying, who are you saying?
Vanilla.
And then you're saying your each way shout is going to be Mr. Incredible.
Yeah.
And then your outsider Chambard.
Yeah.
And I will go with I Am Maximus.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw in, obviously, Limerick Lace. And then I know it's not really an outsider, but I'm going to say Mr. Incredible. He's 20 to 1. So I feel that's a big enough price to say he's an outsider.
Yeah.
But anyone who's watching this, let us know who your betting tips are and predictions of a winner in the Grand National. Leave a comment in the comment section for the Aintree Grand National 2024.